Hello, my name is Scott McGinn. I am a senior quality engineer and sometimes test lead based in northwest England. I currently find myself between roles, and I thought I would take the opportunity to share some of the resources that I've used in the past in order to gain my software test automation skills and just get some practice and keep my brain in gear. What I have here is a Bookstore test app, which I've actually only just recently created. And the reason that I created it is there's a lot of good resources that are available via things like the Ministry of Testing, Playwright Automation University, Udemy, etc., etc. But I do find a lot of them are what I'd call element farms. So they're set up with all the elements you'd want to interact with through your automation, and it gives you an opportunity to interact with those elements, which is, it's a good start point. But what it doesn't do, it doesn't give you the opportunity to practice some of that end-to-end processes. The other thing you find as well is, things like API testing. They'll get you running up instances of Docker, which can be a bit resource hoggy on your machine, etc., etc. So what I wanted was an application that would give me the opportunity to test all the really important elements that you want to practice when you're doing test automation, but without having a million different things that you have to spin up. So what I've done is I've created this Bookstore test app. It's got a back end and a front end. All the data is stored locally. All the API is nice and local, so it's all self-contained, which means really that once you've installed a few little dependencies, you're pretty much right to go. You can just dive in and start using it. If you go ahead and clone this, if you want to actually put all the data into SQL, you can. If you want to do, your API through Docker containerization, go for your life. All that stuff is fully available to you. But what I wanted was really just this really nice, tidy start point that we can all use and we can all just play around with and get some really good fundamental skills with our test automation. So I'll just quickly go through what's here. This is the GitHub. I will include the link to this in the description, and I'm not going to show you how to pull from, or clone rather, from GitHub. If you don't know how to do it, there's lots of videos out there. I don't want to make this the place to do that because it'll just make this video overly long, and I don't think it's the purpose of the video. So we will go through the documentation, which does include basic instructions on how to do it. So there's a little bit about the purpose. As I said, those are the things that you can do with it. Performance testing, you're hosting it locally. You're going to get what you get, but there's an opportunity to practice some of that stuff. But for the most part, some of that stuff, really good stuff. Some of the features of the application, so some of the stuff that I've actually put in there. If there's any other features you can think of, you've got a couple of options. You can either shoot me a message either via the issues on the GitHub repo or via here, whichever one is your preference, or you can add the features yourself because, as I said, once you've cloned this, it is yours. Do with it as you please. But yeah, have a read through some of the features that will just shape what you want to do with your automation. There's the structure of the project. I think most of this is up to date. I have been making regular updates to it since I initially made it, so I try to keep the README up to date. But READMEs are READMEs. Sometimes they can fall a little bit behind. For full transparency, yes, most of the backbone of this application was built using Copilot via GitHub, which is a great little feature of GitHub now, and it does allow you to spin up applications relatively quick. But being a senior QE and having a little bit of product knowledge, I have tightened some of the stuff that Copilot won't necessarily do for you, and you will see that when you start playing around in the app. So it's just the stuff that I want in place to enable me to use this better. Some of the prerequisites, as always, you're going to need Node, you're going to need npm or yarn, and you're going to need Git on your machine. Otherwise, some of these commands are just going to tell you that they don't want to work, which is the nature of computing nowadays. Some information about accessing the application. So once you've spun up the front end and the back end, those are your links and the API documentation, which I'll show you in a moment. And then there's some suggested testing scenarios, going through all the different things you can do. Some general information just about the configuration, and if you want to update that, you can have a play with it, do as you please. Some information on the database and where that's stored. So again, as I said, if you want to move that to SQL, move it to SQL, go for your life. Some of the technologies that I've used in it, it doesn't mention Copilot there. I probably should add that at some point, but Copilot tends not to do it itself. Some issues that you might face. So if you do come across any of those issues, here's some of the ways to quickly fix it. Some test automation ideas again. So again, just another list of ideas for what you might want to do from an automation perspective if you're a little bit short of ideas. But add to it, remove it, whatever you want to do with it. And just some other general information. So that's the GitHub repo. As I said, clone it, do with it as you please, clone it as often as you want, follow it, share it, do as you please. So once you've got it on your machine, I am a Visual Studio user, and here is my Visual Studio. You can see that I've got Bookstore Test App open. If I open, actually what I'll do before that, I've got package.json. I've got a couple of scripts in there just to expedite your startup process. If you go to terminal, open a new terminal, make sure that you're in Bookstore Test App, so that matches that. Excellent. I can now do npm run start backend, and there we go. So that starts the backend for me, gives me information of where the server's running, the API endpoints, where I can find documentation, and some information on health check. I then open another window. Again, we're in Bookstore Test App. We go npm run start front end, and that will open up the front end. So when I open up the front end, control click on that, it will open it on the window because it does that, and then I've got to do this and that. Okay, normally when you open it up, it will go to that page. Sometimes it might go to the other page. You can fix that quite easily. This is the page that we've got. So we've got three types of user. We've got an admin user, a store staff user, and a customer user. The admin is basically all viewing, so you can basically do everything, and you can add staff. As a staff member, you can manage books and view, your sales details, how much you've got in stock, all that kind of stuff. I am adding other features as well as I come across them. As a customer, you can make purchases. So I've got a full checkout process in there with a dummy credit card. So you can make a payment, and you can basically get to the point where it just gives you a nice little notification to say that the order's been made, and then it all goes through. If you want to add new customers for your testing, you can do that there. So for testing, a new customer can be added by clicking there. If you want to add more staff, then you can do that through the admin area. So I'll open up the customer one just to show you what that looks like. So we just take the details from there. Log in. So this is the custom page. I'll just get rid of my 1Password prompt there. As you see, there's some demo books in there. Covers don't match the book names, but if you want to fix that, you can do that. It's your application once you've downloaded it. Do as you please. So there's a couple of different little concepts. It's basically all stored on the same page. So if I open the profile, you'll see that it opens the profile. It's actually opened at the top of the page. Gives you details of the customer. So there's their address, their phone number, email stuff, payment methods. So there's our dummy credit card that we've got in place, and order history. So there's some orders that they've done in the past that I've used for testing. When you want to close that, little cross there, closes that, gets rid of it, brings the books back to the top. I will again just close my 1Password prompt. And that's the page. Now, as far as some of the things I've done that are specific to my own requirements when I get a little bit into the weeds with developers, just in regards to how I've got the DOM set up. So if I right click on that search button and we go inspect, that'll bring up my little DOM inspector here. You'll see that while we do have the concept of a data test ID, which is, all well and good, fantastic for helping us with our test automation and other things like that, I've also included ARIA labels. I can wax lyrical for quite a while about why I use ARIA labels. But yeah, I've put them in there as well. And I normally use those in my test automation as a locator. there's a number of reasons for that, and again, not going to dive deep into it. I might do it in a future video, but that's one of the things I've done. But that's, you know, that's helpful for your test automation. But that's the front end. That's the UI. As I said, just going to show you that bit. You can explore it and do as you please with it. The other thing that I've got on here, which is really useful though, if I go back, this is where we've got our back end running. You can see all the little API calls there. You've got the API documentation. I'll click on that and go to here, and this opens up Swagger. So here's all the information on the API. I think this is up to date. Again, it's a case of when you're making changes, you know, you can sometimes fall out the habit of updating your documentation, which is not the kind of thing you want to hear from a senior quality engineer. I tend to be better at it, but I have made a couple of changes recently, and yeah, I'm pretty sure, I'm 99.9% sure this is up to date, but if anything's missing, do sing out. But that's all the APIs that are in use in the UI at the moment, and there's the general information. So you can either play around with it in Swagger if that's the way you like it, or if you want to, you know, play around with it with Postman, Bruno, or any of the other API testing applications that are out there. If you want to use Playwright to practice your API testing, you can. There's all the documentation you'll need to do that. So pretty tidy. That's the API self-contained, the UI self-contained. As far as data goes, at the moment, it is all here in JSON format. As I said, if you want to export that to SQL, go for your life. Not something I've done at the moment, but if I want to practice my SQL testing in the future, it's probably something I will have a think about. But at the moment, no, I've just kept it nice and tidy so that, again, we're not having to spin up a million different things to actually get this running. And that's it. I think, yeah, that would be it. Have a play. For my intentions, I will probably practice my Playwright a little bit more. I'm pretty au fait with Playwright. I guess the other things that I want to practice are Cypress and Selenium. It's been a little while since I played in the world of Selenium, but it's been popping up a little bit lately, I've noticed, in job ads. So definitely something I want to have a little bit of a practice with. And I also want to practice doing some test automation in some languages other than TypeScript and Java. So I want to try and get my Python skills back, my C# skills, and all that is a possibility with this. So go ahead, clone the repo, have a play with it. As I said, any issues, either raise them on the issues for the GitHub or get in contact with me by other means if you have other means to get in contact with me. I am on LinkedIn. I'll include a link to my LinkedIn on the description of this video. But other than that, let me know what you think. I do have the intention of doing other videos just to help with, or just to show you my process when it comes to test automation. They'll probably be Playwright focused, they'll probably be JavaScript, but it'll just be, for those of you who've never done test automation, it can be pretty daunting when you first dive in, and I completely and utterly get that. We all start at the same place. But I will do some other videos just to get you started. I'll show you my process, and then other people who know more about Playwright can comment in the videos about how my process is completely whack and how I'm completely wrong, and they can tell you the right way to do it if that's their desire. But for me, I'll show you how I do it. The way I do it has worked. It's worked on projects that I've done it in the past. And then once I've done that, I might show you me fiddling around and exploring some technologies that I'm not quite as comfortable with, and you can have a laugh at me. But that's my intention. But as we head into Christmas, I don't know if those videos are going to start popping up straight away. I guess we'll see. Okay, thanks for hanging around with me for what's coming close to 15 minutes now. This is the first video I've done, so I was a bit nervous, a bit choky. I hope the microphone worked. I'm hoping that this is actually all recorded and I don't have to go back and do it again. If I don't speak to you before, have a good Christmas. Thanks everyone for listening. Cheers, bye.